speakers. Our first speaker is a storyteller who turns the tiniest tales into unforgettable moments. She is a software professional, a published author of Minions, a book of 100 nano stories, a creative powerhouse of 300 plus poems and quotes to her name. She is also a District 120 humorous speech podium finisher and a Division ISC contestant, proving her magic both in pages and on stage. Please welcome the brilliant Toastmaster Athila Nabin with her session, Humor is Not My Cup of Tea. Over to you, Toastmaster Athila.
Thank you, Toastmaster Athila. Hello, Division H. A good number of participation on Sunday evening, which is really inspiring because people, I feel, when it announced the international speech contest, many people are giving their names. But when it comes to humorous speech contest, on a general trend, I see there is a hesitation. And that is exactly why I got this title. Humor is not my cup of tea. How many of you in this audience think humor is not your cup of tea? I would like you to raise your hands or just unmute yourself and Adira, good. I see quite a number of hands raising up. Yes. First, thank you. You can put your hands down. What I first want to break the bubble is don't ever think that humor is not your cup of tea. Do you hear noise? If you have to turn on the fan, just let me know. Adira, how do you feel?
Yes,
You're on mute.
normal.
Clear.
Clear. Sure. Thank you. Now, whenever in our club they announce humorous speech contest, do you know I will be the first one to nominate as a contest model because only then they'll not nudge me asking for to be a contestant. This is how I was for many years until someone nudged me. Hey, why don't you try humorous speech contest? You have been through all other contests. I said exactly this term, bro. Humor is not my cup of. But kept on insisting that I thought maybe I can try my hands at it. And yes, I cracked till the district level. So if I can do it, definitely you can also do it. So I want to break that bubble or the idea that when you dwell in that humor doesn't work for me or just humor doesn't come. Because that is where you have been arranged the session from a novice like me to understand how we can break that bubble. And here's what I have got some tips and strategies for you to write a humorous script. And I sincerely wish you break through the contest this time. Are we ready? Wonderful. Thank you. Now, now I have broken the bubble that you're confident. Yes, I'm going to give my name as a humorous speech contestant and I'm going to write. But here's the real challenge. What I write about? Okay, humor comes for me, but what do I do? What script can I write about? What is the theme that I can talk about? Generally speaking, if law is the best medicine, a humorous speech contest is the pharmacy. And you're all the pharmacists, or I would say doctors even. So having said that, the best humor should be relatable and personal. Okay. How do we stay happy in our life, guys? If we think of our past failures or the past backward moments or embarrassing moments, if we still dwell on those worst moments, it is only going to be a pain in our life, right? When do we propel forward? When do we succeed in our life? When we learn the lesson from those moments and implement that, take the lesson and move on, right? Here's what I want to give you a twist. Why don't we make that as a funny? Yeah, some family work or relationship. I'll give you some examples. Okay, what do you think of motherhood or pregnancy journey. It's serious trauma or emotional roller coaster. Um, okay. Okay. Yeah. What do you think of motherhood as a pregnancy journey? It's a very serious matter, right? This would be the apt title for the international speech contest because people get the emotional from it. Not what always be very serious. They turn that as a funny note. That is what I have encountered and I've crossed through. So I thought to give that very personal emotions that I've got at the journey I came through in a more funny way and practically. Some other ideas I can give you, there are plenty of ideas that you have your own experience. But on a generic note, it should be very relatable, right? It should be relatable and personal. I told you the personal stuff, how it could be. Now, it should be relatable, like pretty much every one of us are health conscious. We are. Please go through one fitness journey, dieting, New Year resolutions, or um, like gym fitness journey even. That's really the common theme that you can find because it pretty much applies to everyone. There could be dating dramas, hostel days, new vehicle or gadget that you're using, or it can even be your managers or mothers or say Toastmasters. And one quick tip, of course, it can be your spouse too if you're brave enough. They can only tell until there it's your talent to. This is where you get the humorous idea. So what I want to say is be real, don't try to be perfect. Yeah. Now, when we start scripting, the first question that the doubt that comes in most of our minds is what's the difference between a stand-up comedy and a humorous speech? I think some of you might have this doubts already. What's the difference between a stand-up comedy and a humorous speech? See, stand-up comedy, the purpose is pure entertainment. Their only aim is to just make the audience laugh continuously. And it will be like a series of punchlines and some jokes that doesn't have a proper structure, right? And it could be even sarcastic or provocative. Some content are not so welcome. There could be some exaggerated or fictional personas. So these are all the stand-up comedy. So I want you to avoid all this. Now, when it comes to humorous speeches in the Toastmasters, we have our own values and standards, right? So we have a purpose. We are here to inspire, entertain, and communicate a clear message or a story with humor. We have a very structured format. We all know. Opening a body, a conclusion. Often with a message or a life lesson, but humorous speech doesn't necessarily have to have a message that is so close to your heart that hits you hard. You don't have to be very serious. You don't have to give a very serious message. Of course, our intent is also because this is a humorous speech contest, whereas ISC is altogether a different thing. For humorous, you don't have to but focus on a message. At least we could revolve around a central theme. It is not a stack of jokes that you can blurt out one after the other without any connections. Basically, that's the difference between the humorous speech and stand-up comedy. And with our values, we should be very family friendly, clean, and respectful. And we should be authentic and very personal. We do not go with a fake or fictional persona. So basically, the content that I want to highlight here is tell a story, not just joke. Clear? Now, if you have started today, okay, I am now confident that I can be a humorous speech contestant. I now have an idea of what I have a theme or I have a script idea what I can write about. And now I know I'm not going to write a script like a stand-up comedian, but as a humorous speech contestant. To be clear here. Now, secrets of scripting. Okay, I can write pages after pages, but am I really making that sound funny? Right? What are the three steps? See, for any humorous speech, there is a there's a secret. Okay, that's a framework which you can follow. Frame a sentence or the entire content even. First of all, we'll have to set up. Then there should be, when I say setup, it should be like a situation or a character or a context. You're setting up the ground. You're setting up the ground. It's simply straightforward. So it is to set an idea or give a perception on the audience mind. For example, All women are evil. All women are evil. Okay. No, I see the guys already started smiling. Ladies, please. It should be a careful misdirection. So you have set this context. Now it should be a misdirection. Like it should lead the audience in a different direction or a wrong direction. Like it is some thinking something normal is coming. Okay, they should have a different guess. Okay, this is going to be the next line. Okay, no, all women are evil. It's a setup. Misdirection is, but my wife is a queen. But my wife is a queen. Now, what is the punchline? The third part of the sentence is a punchline. That's a surprise twist that the audience shouldn't have expected, and that could create laughter. For example, in our example, what we know, all women are evil, but my wife is a queen. What is the punchline is of all evils. So here you go. All women are evil, but my wife is a queen. Now the audience will have a different perception. And then after a pause, you should say, of all evils, right? People wouldn't have thought about it. This is just an example that I wanted to bring out. So pretty much all the sentences or all the scenarios, what I've given for this example is a single line. Actually, when you're explaining a scenario, you can carefully set up a base, and then that could be a misdirection and a punchline. Okay, I'll tell you an example from my own speech, but maybe we can relate better. My speech, as I said, was about my pregnancy journey, right? So in my scenario, I was setting up the context that during the third trimester, women tend to have eating tendency. So I was eating a lot of crisps. So I told my husband I was fully pregnant, meaning I couldn't bend easily, or I couldn't walk around easily, that stage. I was eating a lot of, so I told my husband to keep it somewhere I couldn't reach out to. Okay. So when I exaggerated, when enacted on the stage, I was telling all this. So I placed my hands above. I asked him to keep it in a place where I couldn't reach. So obviously, when people think when it couldn't be on reach, we'll all obviously think that it is somewhere high above, right? And when I also enacted on the stage that there is something high above. Ladies are usually short, no offense. So obviously the human mind thinks that my husband has placed it somewhere on the high where I couldn't reach. That's a misdirection. First, I set up the context of I was pregnant as a misdirection. Pause, I told my ex-husband has actually placed the chips bucket on the floor. Reality is that we cannot bend down and take, it's beyond the reach of my hands. So this is how the punchline, the structure of the content that you deliver should. So when you follow this framework, people have a different perception, and actually it took a second for the audience to recognize. Yes, okay. But it will end up really well. I request if anyone is not on mute to please go on mute. Thank you for joining. Okay. Now you know what the framework, how to write a script or put it in a funny way. Now, when you do so, I want you to exaggerate the reality. Okay. See, again, what I'm telling is we do not invent lies, because when we invent lies or copy from other comedians, it will be very evident, because with the power of social media, pretty much that joke will be around. Many would have seen that. So what I wanted you to think is, as I told in the very beginning, it should be relatable and personal. So we'll have to exaggerate the truth. We should not invent anything. For example, okay, someone says, I updated my resume for love. It sounds different, but basically, actually, they have updated a dating app, their profile in a dating app, or even in the matrimonial sites. So that's a resume for love. It's very ordinary, but the way you project it will give a different meaning altogether. Now, and when we say this, it does not, we tell it very flat. We should obviously act it out, and then you should use sound effects, gestures, or facial expressions that your audience are fully immersed into the content that you're delivering. Now, second thing is, as much as we exaggerate a very simple thing, we should also know how to downplay something or understate something serious in a humorous way. For example, you failed an exam. Okay, that is your theme. Let us say you failed an exam. How can you say? Um, Instead of saying I just failed an exam, I didn't fail an exam. I just found 42 ways that weren't the correct answer. Oops, Edison would be proud of me, right? So it's a very serious thing, right? And what you can say, like, okay, if you are involved in a minor car accident, so it's like, I didn't crash the car. I just introduced my car into a tree at about 80 kilometers per hour. Nature and machine finally united. So when I didn't use the exact vocal variety because I'm yet to come there. But the structure in which you pay. So the thing is, you will have to exaggerate the truth, exaggerate and tell the very simple things, or you should downplay a very serious thing into a very humorous way. Either way, it will work. People are always want masala and drama, right? So that is when you say you will have to follow these tactics. Of course, it cannot be very serious to all the time. So we'll have to, even a very serious thing, if you tell it in a funny way, people can relate to it and they'll obviously feel very relatable. Now, the main purpose. Now we all know how we can script our humorous speech. Now, the very basic things we are going to come. What are the mistakes that you should avoid? What are the general considerations apart from the scripting? You should know your audience. For any speech that you're giving, the knowing is your audience is a very basic thing. Speech, or I would say humorous speech, in fact, is very cultural and contextual, right? So a joke that is working well in one club or one set of people might fall flat in another. If you're very techie jokes, maybe you're a software professional, you're using very techie jokes that will work within your corporate club. But when you tell that to a wider audience, a mixed group of audience, they might not really understand all those technical jokes, right? So that will not very work well in a wide set of audience. As you move up the levels, or when you grow beyond your area level, you're obviously going to meet up with a wider set of audience. So from the day one, from your first script itself, you should have that consideration in mind of your level audience, who are all the target audience for me. From that perspective, you should start scripting your speech. It could be very common local reference, because obviously we go until district, right? And we have our own district, you all know. So it could be like the Chennai traffic, or the monsoon surprises, the power cuts during the cricket matches. Because I think we don't have much of power cuts these days, but these are some of the examples. Um, these are, I mean, the local references, when you go with which will go well or work well or relatable to a mixed audience, it will definitely click. And have you watched what's the trend in the latest movies? I think we have been very serious. What's the trend in latest movies? One common thing in a fully masala movies or pan India movies that you got nowadays, they are bringing in it's one actor from each language. Do you now guess that? Can you deduce that? Because it is to garner audience from all states and languages. Correct. They want one representation. And if you see, they'll have at least one set of scenes for children. They'll have one set of scenes for elderly, right? So pretty much at some point in time, they want a connection. There will be the actor's flashback will always be a childhood friend or a brother, right? That would touch the sentiments of the children, or the child in us. And there will be motherly sentiment or elderly sentiment at one point in time. and there will be pan-India actors in a movie, so that all the region audiences are attracted to that movie. Likewise, in our script, if it could be on a generic level, it will be very, very generic. It will be good. So when I said I wasn't the winner because some people gave the feedback that I was about the pregnancy journey, my speech. So not everyone can relate to it. Could be very young audience, very young boys, like around 20 plus or 20 plus ladies. They haven't gone through this journey. Or women, I mean, someone if they couldn't go through the journey, they will not be able to understand, right? So what I say, even your jokes can very well, even it could be very funny, but until the audience could relate to it, until all the audience could relate to it, it will not work very well, at least to the winner level. So choose, your audience now, you just script your speech in that way. Now, second thing is you should play with wordplay. Puns, okay, puns, when we say puns or different quick, for example, I wanted to be a baker, but I couldn't just make enough dough. You can take a common phrase or sayings, literally. For example, I took a crash course in driving. I mean, I took a crash course in driving, and I took it literally. I mean, some jokes are very intelligent. I would say avoid the intelligent jokes that might not sell with everyone because some people might not clearly understand, but make it simple and relatable. Or twisting the common sayings, they say behind every successful man, there is a woman rolling her eyes. If you're telling a jokes about a particular job or profession, I used to be a banker, but I just lost interest. These are some of the word puns that you could use. Now, the main important thing that I'm going to come here is the body language and voice modulation, or generally speaking, how you present. These days, have you noticed? We won't notice advertisements, when you see an ice cream, you must eat it with your eyes. That's how they present it. The foods and all, right? Where how you're attracted to. It's how the presentation matters. First, they make the children or the uh, consumers eat it with their eyes first, right? Thanks for the timer. Then, so the presentation matters a lot. Usage of pauses is very important in a humorous speech. For in a ISC, the pause should be after a very sentimental thing for the users to ingest the scenario, the emotion. They should sit for a moment that emotion that we have veiled out should hit their heart and they should take in. But whereas for the humorous speech, we have to give a pause before the punchline. Okay. So I said that there's a careful misdirection, then a punchline. So that means the pause should be before. But I also want you to be very careful when it comes to timing, because you want to give, when you structure your speech itself, you have to write it in such a way that you give sufficient place for the audience to laugh it out. We cannot tight pack 900 words into a 7-minute speech and just before the audience could take in a joke, laugh out, and then move on. But you keep on putting the jokes, people will not actually enjoy. So thinking that in your mind, when you know there is a laughter element there, give a pause for them to laugh out. Right? That is when you're encouraged to crack the next joke as well. The vocal variety for the characters are very important. The body language, it's obvious that if I sit straight and if I tell it out, you might not enjoy, right? I have to put my hands here, this is because I'm seated. So eventually, when obviously, if an actor is a pregnant, I know I should act like a pregnant woman. Or whenever there's a child, the voice modulation should be that a child or old man. You have changed your vocal variety so that the audience actually visualize the child in you or visualize the old man in you. That is how it takes to their heart. Practice timing, and the more important is people do excel, but still when they don't win the prize, it's because they have crossed the timing by seconds. It's just because they have scripted in such a way that they didn't consider the audience timing for jokes or, for them to laugh out loud. Now, there are some problems that what if the audience don't laugh? Don't take it serious. What it works in one stage will not actually work. When I had was from the division three, when I was in a division three contest, whenever I said people are so serious, like Siricha Pocher. Right? For a moment, I was like, am I giving a humorous speech or an international speech? Because people are so serious. I thought, okay, done. For a moment, I felt very discouraged, but that is actually the test of your strength. I just gained the strength. I know I've prepared. I just went out and finally cleared it. So don't worry. You keep telling your jokes. That the audience mindset depends on various factors, and of course, your luck also. Um, and then please always stay from politics, religion, or stereotypes. Keep it clean, inclusive, and Toastmasters appropriate. Because end of the day, we are not supposed to hurt anyone, be it of any speech, be it a humorous or any speech. As a good humans, we are not supposed to hurt anyone else, even for a title. Make it intriguing, thoughts. I mean, a good title should spark the curiosity, right? Keep it short and snappy. Some people prefer the long titles, provided it is reflecting the speech theme. So basically, your title should hint the speech subject or the central joke. Don't give some for the sake of giving some title or giving the funny way. Don't give any vague or misleading titles, which might itself be a negative factor because we might not the judges will wonder why this title was even given. Due to timing, I am just putting my content. I'm not sure if it's coming in a very clear way, but what I wanted to tell is what, according to the judges, that you should be very focused on. I've put it in the chat. I've just got 3 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer very quickly. No questions. That doesn't mean you didn't understand, or did I tell it all right? You've clearly understood. Janaki
This
ma'am,
is Nemat,
Toastmaster. Yeah.
this is Nematullah.
Yes, ma'am.
Any suggestions on topic? Already gave suggestions on topic selection. That is the key challenge we have. That is where the key challenge lies. We understand how to write jokes and all, how to write the punchlines, all those stuff. How do we select the topic? We would like to have more crystal clear examples. Which area we could go for? Say, sports jokes are very common.
Yes.
So there, I would like to have some suggestions.
Yeah. I think I touched upon this in the starting. It could be very generic, like uh, of my experience, I've seen people tell about the dieting because every one of us want to reduce weight at the same time not to give up our favorite foods. It could be dieting or the New Year resolutions. Very generic, it should be relatable to all the audience. Of course, everyone have a feel about their mother. Even the international humorous speakers you would have known, they will tell about their mothers. Even spouse may or may not work because some people are more at the singles, but mothers jokes are always very touchy. Hostel days, definitely most of us would have crossed the hostel stages. Or as I said, Chennai traffic. These are very generic topic which could be pretty much relatable by all. Some it could be like office politics. Office politics also might not work in all the stages, but at least when they say a manager, people will know. Uh, the spouse and Toastmasters are a very, very commonly used. So you can think of your own personal Toastmaster Nehmatullah. That is what I would say. The whatever you in your life found felt very funny, or if you put a different lens to whatever your childhood, you have done something, you have come across something embarrassing. But if you see it from a different perspective, don't look into the very serious thing and get hurt, but try to convey that to your audience in a very funny note or bring something like a grandpa's treasure. That could be something that you want to build a curiosity among the audience and finally open it out. What your grandpa, these kind of things also work apart from the spouse and very personal things. Does that answer Toastmaster Nehmatullah?
Yes, to some extent. That is still the challenge lies. The zeroing in on the topic.
Yeah. Think your creative, put your creative hats on, Toastmaster
Ah,
Nehmatullah. I would like
yeah.
to see you on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Toastmaster Athila.
Yeah,
Congratulations,
Toastmaster.
sir. I have a question because when you were giving us the idea about it, you said Sircha Poche. It looks like Sircha Poche in revision. The question is, when we are working on the puns, is it necessary that we have to work on different sets of audience, include different sets of audience, even though we aren't included those in our club level, area level, and all? If that doesn't work in the division, we have to put something inside and continue, or it's okay, we can continue.
If they don't laugh, do you say on the stage if you want to be very creative and put something new for that audience, Toastmaster Chanaki? I would sincerely suggest when you write the script itself, that's what I said. When you write the script itself, you will have to think of your final audience. If you imagine yourself in the district stage wherein your audience are a mixed set of people, not just your corporate or just your community clubs, there are different sets of people of different age groups as well. Think from that perspective and present. I please everyone, my personal suggestion is start early. Write the script version 1. Don't touch it for 2 days. On third day, you take the script and reread it again. You yourself will know. And don't practice it very well. That someone they say no, like that. If you practice your script in such a way that um, you should have the timings clearly said that you don't forget any flows. You have to be very thorough of your speech. I wouldn't risk introducing something new in my speech, or I do not have the talent. I can script it out, practice, and give it. So, because we do not know if that new joke that introduce also will work with them. Because end of the day, it's all audience emotion. If you've crossed many stages or if you've seen many type of audience, you can definitely feel that. So I would suggest when you script itself, you script it in such a way that it is to our common or wider audience. And please do not try to introduce something because that might take more time and you might miss some of the good jokes that you've already have in your script. And you might miss the timings as I just did. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Okay. If you have any further questions, I think I can take it on the chat. I'll be available around because I'm eager like you to listen to the education speech for the evaluation as well. Is that okay, Toastmaster Athila?
Yes, ma'am. So thank you, Toastmaster Athila, for that delightful and insightful session. And you have definitely shown us that humor doesn't have to come naturally. It can be crafted, practiced, and perfected. Thank you, Toastmaster Athila.
Thank you.
Our next speaker